Isadora lived a peaceful life on one of the small, quiet planets in a distant corner of the galaxy. Her husband had died years ago during an exploration mission, but after his loss, her children, Raylan and Alara, became her reason to keep going. She devoted her life to them, ensuring their safety and education, and the calm life they led seemed like it would last forever. But the chaotic nature of the galaxy was about to pull her and her small family into its storm. That day started like any other. Isadora had sent her children off to school and was busy with her daily chores, making plans for them in her mind. Perhaps she would take them to the planet's natural parks the following weekend, letting them explore new discoveries. But as the afternoon passed, she noticed something was wrong. Raylan and Alara hadn't come home at their usual time. At first, Isadora wasn't too worried. Maybe they were playing at school or spending time with friends. However, as more time passed, her worry grew. She picked up her communication device and contacted their teachers. The response she received made her heart tighten with fear. Raylan and Alara had left school much earlier and were supposed to be on their way home. A terrible feeling crept into her chest, like all the darkness in the galaxy had suddenly set its sights on her children. Without hesitation, she sprang into action, alerting neighbors, friends, and nearby security units. But there was no trace of them. As time dragged on, her rising fear began to transform into a burning anger. Something wasn't right. Someone must have taken her children. To find them, she would have to use old connections she hadn't tapped into for years. Though she had appeared to live a peaceful life, Isadora had once been a soldier who fought in intergalactic wars. She specialized in reconnaissance and tracking, skills she hadn't used in a long time. But now, with her children in danger, the warrior inside her was reawakening. A week later, her worst fears were confirmed. An old contact named Erix told her that Raylan and Alara had been kidnapped and were in the hands of a group of alien traffickers. These traffickers were notorious for abducting children, selling them in slave markets, or subjecting them to horrific experiments in hidden laboratories across the galaxy. Isadora's world shattered with this news. But at the same time, a steely resolve took hold of her, making her stronger and more dangerous than ever. Nothing, absolutely nothing, would stop her from finding her children and rescuing them from these monsters. Erix offered to help by giving her access to an underground information network that could track the traffickers' movements. Isadora began her search, moving through the galaxy's darkest corners, negotiating with criminals, and using every resource she had. She was closing in on her children day by day, and in the process, she was learning more about her enemies. The traffickers were operating out of an abandoned mining colony in the Galactic system. It was far from the eyes of galactic authorities, and any attack on this place would be fraught with danger. But in Isadora's eyes, no danger was too great when it came to saving her children. As she made her preparations, two old friends offered to join her. Ark, a seasoned military leader with a sharp strategic mind, and Lissa, a legendary tracker known for her deadly precision on distant worlds. Both of them had witnessed Isadora's resolve and chose to stand by her side. As they boarded the spacecraft, Ark turned to her, his voice serious. "This mission is extremely dangerous. Our enemies are powerful and well-organized. If we hesitate for even a moment, we might not make it back alive." Isadora's eyes burned like flames in the dark. "If my children are in danger, hesitation is not an option," she replied, her voice steady. Lissa, silently checking her weapons, nodded. "This will be a war, and we'll do what we do best, survive." With her emotions tightly controlled, Isadora leaned forward, her gaze locked on the empty expanse of space ahead. If it's war they want, then it's war they'll get. They'll soon learn what happens when they try to take my children from me. As the ship moved quietly through space toward the Galro system, Isadora's maternal instincts fused with her warrior spirit. This wasn't just a rescue mission for her. It was a quest for vengeance. She would stop at nothing to reclaim her children. The darkness of the galaxy and the strength of the traffickers meant nothing to her. Isadora was no longer just a quiet, peaceful mother. She had become an unstoppable warrior, and nothing would stand in her way. As they approached the Galro system, The rage growing inside Isadora settled into a cold, determined silence. Staring out the ship's window, her hatred for the smugglers who had endangered her children had seeped into every fiber of her being. This calm was like the quiet before a storm. Ark and Lissa were just as focused, making their preparations. This wasn't an ordinary rescue mission. It was a war against an intergalactic crime syndicate that thrived in the darkest corners of the universe. As the ship passed through the asteroid belt surrounding the Galros system, Lissa spotted a patrol ship on one of the side monitors. She glanced at Isadora. A patrol ship. "If we're detected, it's all over," she said, her voice calm and collected as always. Isadora gave the monitor a brief glance. "We have to move without drawing attention. Starting a fight now would put my children at risk," she said. Ark quickly scanned the ship's controls. "Signal jammers are active. If we follow the right course, we can slip past their radar," he said. His hands swiftly moved across the data panels, tracking the patrol ship's movements. "We'll stay silent and strike when the time is right." The ship continued to glide silently toward the massive mining colony within the Galros system. The colony appeared abandoned, but they knew it was a facade. The smugglers were hiding here, running their operations. To rescue the children, they had to go inside, but it carried significant risk. Lissa sat upright, her expression sharp. "They're definitely hiding underground. The mining tunnels are the perfect place to lose us," she said. Isadora nodded. "That could work to their advantage. But I won't let them hold us back any longer," she said, her cold demeanor intensifying. She was no longer just a mother. She was a battle strategist. As they neared the colony, Ark carefully landed the ship in a hidden spot. They had to be extremely cautious not to get picked up by the smugglers' radar. Isadora and her team quickly prepared, checking their weapons and tech equipment. This was the final moment of readiness before they plunged into the unknown. While inspecting her weapon, Isadora turned to Lissa. "We need to stay silent as we infiltrate. Any alarm could put my children in danger," she said. Lissa pulled out a small tracking device from her pocket and handed it to Isadora. "This should help us trace your kids. If they're deep in the mines, we'll find them," she said. The device was a top-tier tracker capable of bypassing the smugglers' security systems. The team silently approached the abandoned mining colony's entrance. The outside was rusted and worn, but they were certain that beneath this decayed exterior lay a bustling crime syndicate. The entrance was locked, but with a few quick taps, Lissa silently hacked it open. As Isadora stepped inside, she felt the cold, ominous air of the mine. The interior was dark and desolate, but it was clear something was hidden here. Ark pulled up a small hollow map on his wrist. "Security systems don't seem to be active, but that could be deceptive. We need to stay alert as we advance," he said. Lissa moved quietly ahead of them, her tracking skills detecting no one in the immediate area. But the silence only made the impending danger feel closer. As they descended deeper into the tunnels, the environment became increasingly grim. The echoing silence among the metallic walls grew heavier with each step. After progressing for a while, Lissa suddenly halted. Her eyes locked onto a shadow at the end of the tunnel. "A guard," she whispered. "Just one. But it could be a trap." Isadora immediately started devising a plan. "We can take him out quietly. No alarms." "Ark, can you create a distraction?" she asked. Ark pulled a small device from his pocket and quickly attached it to the wall. "This will create a small explosion at the end of the tunnel. It should divert his attention. We can move in silently," he said. Isadora nodded in approval. "Let's move." "Do as I say," she said. As Ark activated the device, a small explosion echoed from the tunnel's far end. The guard immediately turned toward the noise. Seizing the opportunity, Isadora and Lissa swiftly moved behind him. Lissa silently took the guard down. With the guard neutralized, Isadora looked deeper into the tunnel. "This is only the beginning," she murmured. They continued their advance and eventually arrived at a massive door. Isadora's heart raced, but her face remained cold and composed. "They must be here," she said in a firm voice. As Ark worked on unlocking the door, Lissa heard something coming from behind. "More are coming," she said quietly. Isadora tightened her grip on her weapon. "Then we'll stop them." "I'm not leaving without my children," she said. When the door finally opened, they were faced with a sprawling room filled with smugglers and a fully operational command center. The children were there. This was the moment everything changed. The battle was now inevitable. As the large door opened, the sight inside fueled Isadora's anger even further. The smugglers had trapped the children in a corner of a vast operations center. The children huddled together in fear, trying to comprehend what was happening. In front of them stood dozens of armed men, all appearing well-prepared and ruthless. Isadora's eyes locked onto her children for a moment. She took a deep breath, but her determined expression remained unchanged. The leader of the smugglers walked forward, casting a mocking smile at Isadora. "Did you come all this way just to die?" he taunted. Then, turning to his men, he ordered, "Kill this woman, but don't harm the children. We'll sell them for a good price." Something inside Isadora broke. These creatures, who saw her children merely as commodities, had inflicted her greatest fear upon her. But fear had been replaced by a burning desire for revenge. "I will take my children," she said, her voice icy cold. She gripped her weapon tightly and glanced at Arkansas. "Is the plan ready?" Ark quickly activated a small device in his hand. "Shield your eyes," he instructed. The device flashed a bright light, blinding everyone in the room. As the room was engulfed in chaos, Isadora and her team moved swiftly. Lissa, moving like a shadow among the smugglers, took them down one by one with her combat skills. Ark placed explosives strategically to prevent the smugglers from regrouping. Isadora, however, had only one goal: to reach her children. As the smugglers tried to recover from their shock, Isadora, fueled by agility and fury, brought down everyone who crossed her path. With every step, she came closer to her children. The smuggler leader, when he finally regained his sight, realized too late that he was facing a mother's wrath. He reached for his weapon, but Isadora was much faster. She raised her weapon and pointed it threateningly. "Where are my children?" she demanded, her voice laden with deadly silence. The leader's eyes widened with fear. "We haven't harmed them," he said, panicked. "We just wanted to sell them. They would fetch a good price." These words boiled Isadora's blood. Struggling to control her rage, she declared, "They are my children. No one will buy them." She fired her weapon, and the leader collapsed to the ground. There was now no obstacle left in her way. She rushed to her children, tears streaming down her face. All her determination, all her battle was for this moment, getting her children back. Kneeling beside them, she embraced them. "You're safe now," she said, unable to hold back her tears. Little Nora, with a trembling voice, said, "Mom, you found us." Isadora held her daughter tightly. "Nothing could stop me," she said. As Ark and Lissa continued to neutralize the smugglers, Isadora moved her children to a safe corner. Ark approached Isadora and said, "We need to leave. This place will blow in a few minutes." Isadora nodded, holding her children's hands. "We're leaving," she said firmly. The team quickly retreated towards the exit of the operations center. In the dark corridors of the tunnels, the sounds of explosions began to echo. Isadora shielded her children with her body during each blast, doing everything she could to get them to safety. Their only goal now was to escape alive. When they finally reached their ship, Ark took control and lifted off. As the colony behind them collapsed in explosions, Isadora and her children moved towards a safe place. The danger had been left behind, but the war was far from over. Lissa, standing silently at the back of the ship, looked at Isadora. "This is just the beginning," she said. "Smugglers are much more widespread in the galaxy. You've saved your children, but there are others. We can do more." Isadora looked at her children and took a deep breath. "I will find and stop them one by one. No mother should lose her children like I did," she said. In her eyes now was not just the love for her children, but a relentless fury against the smugglers. The battle was over, but Isadora's quest for revenge was far from complete. As their ship moved deeper into the galaxy, a new struggle was ignited. Isadora was no longer just a mother but the nightmare of the galaxy's most dangerous smugglers. I hope you had a good time. If you like my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye. See you in the next story.